All right, guys, welcome back. Welcome back to the channel. We're in for another push day today. Little changes on the last session in the sense that I've brought in a few new exercises to this particular session. My previous push days, I've been starting off with either a high incline Smith or a low incline Smith, and fair to say they'd run their course. So it's time for a few tweaks. They'd been in for, like I said, anywhere between 8 and 12 months as a primary exercise, driving up load. And they just hit a point where I was lucky to even come in and maintain, especially of course during the diet, but now I'm back up into a gaining phase. I've been in a gaining phase now for the past 3.5, 4 weeks. So I'm up like 2-3 pounds. So now I need to set up movements that are gonna allow for a great chain of progression moving forwards. So you'll notice a few new ones. Atlantis shoulder press we're going to kick off with, and then I'm most likely going to do the Leco vertical chest press, which like me and Alex were just talking about, is very, very heavy in length and drops off a little into the short, which is kind of ideal after, well, basically second exercise as opposed to first. We want something like Atlantis shoulder press where it's difficult to lock out. I'm going to bring in a little bit upper pec, shoulders, and then a flat chest press where ideally we're getting a lot of length and a little bit of a drop off in the short. So like either there, like a Smith, flat dumbbell, the vertical chest press from Leco, good options. So we'll see how this goes. Again, be a little bit intuitive, find some good baselines, and ultimately try and teach you guys and take home a few things from this video as always. Enjoy. So just putting a bit of blood everywhere really. Side delts, bit of pec deck, and also a bit of like a, always try and do some form of like an upper back row or a pullover or something like that to get blood in my back, because you'll often find as you're moving into that spinal extension to set yourself up into a press, the upper back kind of gets a little bit compressed and packed together, and that's where you can often like tweak a trap or your neck or something like that then offsets all of your training for the next 2 or 3 days. Like I've got pull tomorrow, then a rest, then legs. So if I tweak something in my upper back today, it's, well, I know what it's like, I've done it multiple times. So the goal is to always try and not get hurt. Little tweaks here and there, probably normal when you're pushing yourself, but they should happen relatively infrequently. Okay, so warming up for something that I genuinely have not done in years. I've not touched this shoulder press in a huge amount of time. So I really don't know where I'm gonna go. All I know is that Keith has done 6 plates on this, so if I'm not over 3 plates, I'm definitely doing something wrong. But yeah, I think that it would be nice to take probably something with like 4 plates today. That's probably what I've got in my head. And then just steadily work up from there. Again, putting a new movement in at the beginning of a phase in a growing phase or in a surplus is probably a smart idea to place a new movement, because you've just got such a good runway of progression and you can build the skill along the way. Whereas when you add something in a diet, you've obviously got body weight coming down and you've got to still learn that skill as body weight shifts. So it's not an ideal spot to put a new exercise, put them at the front end of the gaining phases. So what I'm trying to avoid here is as I progress it, I don't want to start to turn it into this, which will like start to probably put me in a more of an advantage over the load and obviously restrict range. Whereas if I'm back here, I'm still in a position where I can leverage a good amount of weight, getting a good amount of tension on my front delts, bit of upper pec. But here, like the more I go down and down and down, I could literally start to turn this into like a flat press if I wanted to. And then again, you're just leveraging more load taken away from the exercise. Because like if you look at this press from a side angle as well, some of you guys might ask, oh, well, you always say keep your elbow like underneath and stacked underneath your wrist joint. And you might see the elbow actually comes back like this, but what matters is that it is still stacked underneath the wrist in the direction, the path of the press. So this press heads out and then up. So you'll see the elbow go out with the wrist, it stays stacked and then it presses above the head. So just be aware that like it totally depends on the path of the press in relevance to where the elbow path is traveling. Feels decent. It feels so much different to having to like knock up dumbbells, which I've been doing for a while, and then obviously the Smith as well. Feels like a nice kind of fresh start, which is always quite motivating as well, I must admit. Like movements, especially when you've been running them for such extended periods of time, they do get a little bit samey, so to speak. You've got to love the monotony of bodybuilding, but at the same time, there can be benefit in changing stuff when it gets like monotonous to the point where it's actually counterproductive.
Here we go. Here we go. Yes,
Go!
good, off we go. Yes, lovely, in that groove. Keep them coming, come on. Yes, 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 and again, come on. Strong as fuck, big brace. Don't let me help, don't let me help. Come on. Smallest bit, Adam, smallest bit.
Go!
Lovely. I wanted to give the smallest bit of help that I could on that.
Whew. Room to get a lot better there, that's for sure. That's a good thing, not a bad thing. Come on, let's go.
Here we go, come on.
Let's go.
Powerful reps here, let's go. Easy fucking work, come on. Yes. Nice. Good, lovely, lovely. Perfect, keep them going. Yes. That's it, set your position, we go again, come on. Yes, 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 again, again. Through, stick with, good. Take one, there you go, set your position. Big load and brace, come on. Stick with. Tiny little bit of touch.
Mama. Oh.
It's good. I didn't have to just give you a tiny bit, otherwise.
Yeah, baseline numbers set on that. I think I'm pretty happy with the movement overall. The only issue that I have with presses like that, where the arm path is so far in front, as opposed to like out here, is because I'm pressing like this and like jamming my my neck and my upper back into the pad. It really doesn't feel great on my neck. And there's not much you can do about that when the arm path is in front like that. So I'm gonna have a think, because I might run that for like 4 or 5 weeks and work it up, and then go back to like dumbbells or something, which for me carry a lot less injury risk, funnily enough. So we'll see.
Let's go then. Nice. Good.
Oh!
Again. Come on, take it there now. Drive it up.
Oh yes!
Good, come on. Come on, all yours, come on. Go, finish. Yeah, nice.
Fucking bastard. Oh. Taking a leaf out of Keithy's notebook. Or Keithy doesn't have a notebook, so Keithy's invisible notebook. All right. Okay. All right, so first time on this, just trying to get set up in terms of where I need the seat and then my arm path. The good thing about this is it has a lever here, so we can get it out of that stretch position where it's really, really heavy, get set, and then press. So Q is very similar to the flat cable press that I mentioned in the past, where you want to keep the chest in front of the delts, that slight spinal extension to keep all the tension on the chest. And then obviously this converges really, really nicely, so it drops off a little bit in the short. It's kind of nice since we've already challenged ourselves a bit through the pecs on the Atlantis overhead. The reason for putting this in instead of the flat cable press, I got to the point on the flat cable press where it was really taxing LOS to have to pull out one side to get it to my hand. And then because I was having to roll around with one, I couldn't get into enough spinal extension and set my position before pressing. So then it would end up with me being like caved over like this, which I can't afford to do. I need to have a better chest, so I need to find exercises where I'm stable. And the one thing there's not gonna be any problem in terms of output. I need output for my pecs, so this probably should be a good option. All right, so I'm gonna start pretty conservative with a 2-plate top. Probably maybe a 1.5 back off, to be honest. Which, you know, previously I'd have gone through Instagram, looked at anyone that had used the Gym Leco flat press and immediately compared all my numbers to them. Nowadays, I care far less about that, especially on weaker body parts like my pecs. I'm like, I don't care. I just need to use the weight that I need to use to take that muscle to failure with a full range, massive stretch, good contractions, and then that's it. That's all that matters. And then I progress my loading, I progress my reps, and then everyone else can do what they want to do to build their pecs as well. Everyone's happy. This is the absolute worst thing. I literally just said on the video, I was like, I don't usually compare myself, or I'm not going to compare myself on presses now. And then you walk over and ask me whether I'm doing the Gym Leco flat, and you're going to tell me that you've done like 7 plates on it. This is Jay, by the way. Jay is a machine. Jay is the exact person that you want to be like when you're older. And Jay fucking hates tripods, so he's about to kill me.
I also hate fucking machines.
Yeah, he also
So
hates
you enjoy that, motherfucker.
If I was doing dumbbell press, I'd have got a fist bump, but since it's a machine, it's not going to get the approval of Jay today.
Come on, big fucking set, let's go. Stick with.
Go!
Good, more. Still be powerful on that stretch.
Go! Whoa! Oh, that was good. That feels perfect. I was just talking to Alex at after the top set about sort of filming your warm-up sets, especially on a press, when it's a new press and a machine, or even a cable, whatever, from the side, just so you can see that arm path, especially with the elbows tracking, so that then you can understand, all right, okay, is my elbow tracking up here and dragging my shoulder up into elevation? And then if that's happening, you're probably putting your shoulder joint under a little bit of stress in the stretch. Is my elbow tracking sort of, again, like I was talking about with the cable press in the past videos, is my elbow tracking sort of a little bit closer to the rib cage and like all the way out here? Again, probably gonna get a bit more pec out of that. So like understanding where your arm path needs to be for you to connect with your chest is important. Rechecking that via filming, and also how you feel within the warm-up sets, like internally with the pecs. And then that's gonna give you the best outcome moving into your working sets and moving into your progressions, limiting risk in terms of joint pain, maximizing the progress of that particular muscle. Okay, so next up, well, normally it would be a dip, but the dip machine's taken, so especially on push. On legs, maybe I'm fine with waiting just because I feel like the rest times on legs need to be longer anyway. Pull, it depends what movement it is, but push definitely. If I lose momentum in the session, I find that my pump dies off completely. So it's more beneficial for me just to slot in another movement that was meant to be for later, just in place of that movement that we'll just do afterwards now. So we'll move on to the prime lateral. Loz does it single arm because she just doesn't really fit in the machine very well with doing it bilaterally. Some things to think about on machine laterals is that often you don't really want to just grab the handles, which are on the machines, because they often put you into a pretty limited position. You can often align yourself better with the load on the side delt by having your arms just straight out in front of you and kind of forgetting the handles themselves, just gripping onto like a D handle or just literally like gripping your hand together. It pretty much does the same thing. And then cueing that same thing which I talked about with the dumbbell lateral, so like getting into that slightly internally rotated position and then cueing out away from the body. I think a lot of people get into a lateral machine, grip the handles and just think up like this and kind of go into that like shoulder elevation, just chucking motion, which you get a lot out of less weight with proper alignment, proper setup, taking it all the way there. A bit of an insight into my rep ranges on this. First set, goal is 20. And then from there, it's like using the same weight and falling as close to 20 as I can, maybe with a bit of rest pause. I found over years of doing both a mix of heavy laterals and light laterals that I get a lot more out of 15 plus rep ranges for laterals than I do sub 15. The blood flow, the mind muscle connection, everything is far superior. I think there's a time and a place for heavy loading, but that's probably more of your presses than it is in a lateral raise. Loz just actually made a really good comment about training push when you diet. So often when you diet, obviously you feel like a little bit deflated.
Yeah.
What did you say you felt like?
You feel a little bit like a deflated balloon.
Yeah,
like,
or a melted candle.
Yeah, but it's because obviously you go from like off season or like peak food where you feel like really full and like really blown up, to then your food obviously comes down, your intake of carbohydrates is significantly lower, so you literally feel like deflated. So there's like nothing there. So actually having a pump or something prior to training like ride-on is fantastic. You can actually feel your muscles better while you train, which does make a massive difference. Like if you can't feel anything while you train, you're probably just going to get frustrated, you're going to get annoyed, probably also going to not feel quite as confident. So it is something that it's not just about, you know, having a pump and looking good. It can actually genuinely help you feel better whilst you train and actually get more out of your sets too.
Yeah. Another side point on that as well is that, you know, what does a pump formula do? Like, makes you feel bigger. So when you feel bigger, you feel more powerful. And a lot of people, there's like confusion on Instagram as to why I wear like this, like all session. It's because I feel bigger. If I wear like a tight fitted t-shirt, like no hate against tight fitted t-shirt, if you train well in them, fair play. I don't train well in a tight fitted t-shirt. I feel smaller because I'm used to wearing stuff like this or stuff like this.
We're the exact same.
So, you know, plug to buy the t-shirt as well. But yeah, no, in all honesty, just wear stuff that makes you feel strong. I even said to one of my clients last check-in, I said, start wearing hoodies and baggier stuff when you train push. Wear a hoodie, put your sleeves on, and you immediately feel like a bigger person.
You feel safer as well.
You feel safer as well, yeah. I guarantee it'll make a difference.
Good. Again, come on. Yes, good.
One with you.
Okay, come on.
Oh!
Good, nice.
Funnily enough, my strongest area of pressing is a dip machine. Not necessarily a dip, but a dip machine. And my strongest area of like my pressing musculature is like lower pec and tricep. My triceps aren't amazing, but they're definitely better than like my upper chest. So again, this cause correlation kind of thing does follow in a lot of body parts. So for example, my back is a really good body part, and I'm also very strong at back training, and I have been for a while with good connections. So I need to get, over the course of time, my overhead pressing, my flat pressing to kind of match strength in other areas. You'll notice that people that are very strong across most body parts, done with the correct execution, are very well developed pretty much everywhere. Oh, yep. All right, so we moved from the dip, 2 sets. So it's like 3 sets of the Atlantis shoulder, 3 sets of the Leco flat press, 3 sets on the lateral, 2 sets on the dip. And then we've got 3 sets here. So as you can tell, the volume, Loz was doing like 2 sets on the presses, by the way. So the volume for me right now, creeping into or back into a surplus, is definitely higher than the last video you saw, which is when I was mini cutting. So like I said, when I was mini cutting, volume is always a metric that follows your recovery capacity. So now my recovery capacity is up due to an increase in food. We're able to perform and recover from more. So that's what I am doing, because especially for these body parts, I need to have more muscle there. So that comes with progressive overload, of course, the primary thing that I am chasing. Creating as much mechanical tension as possible through good execution and progressing my weights and progressing my food and body weight. And then alongside that, I'm making sure that my volume is as high as I can possibly have it, whilst not impeding the goal of progressive overload. And that's something that you just have to learn. You have to auto-regulate. There'll be weeks where I don't do this volume because I'm not recovered. I might have a busy weekend at show, a poor sleep, a couple of days where I'm not able to come in and do this amount of work, so I do less. Simple, right? So these are the principles that I've applied over many, many years that have taken me to like many new pounds of muscle mass. So I'm gonna keep applying them because they keep working. Very basic, but if you apply these principles, you will absolutely improve your physique.
Yes, come on, more. All the way.
We're on to the Y raise now. You would have seen this in the past push video. I believe I did it in the same order. I might have done it first in that one, I'm not sure. But either which way, so it makes sense within this particular session because we're doing all of our laterals later. It makes sense to have this after the prime lateral because the prime lateral was pretty much, apart from the final set, it was all on setting 1. So it's like more of a full range challenge. Definitely a little bit hard to get short. Y raise, lots of length and range challenge. drops off a little bit as you come away. So it makes sense to have this just a little bit later. Oh!
Good. Stick with.
Ah,
Nice.
fuck me.
Yeah, keep him coming, come on. That's it, all the way. Everything out, come on. More. Good.
Oh. Okay, come on, let's go. Let's go. Up. Oh. 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 Up. Up. Oh, yes. Oh. So I believe this was my first movement again in the last push session. And yeah, dumbbell skull crushes, so one of my favorites. I've kind of tweaked the form a little bit to turn it into a bit more of like, more of akin to like a JM press. So you'll see instead of like previously where I was coming back like this, I'm now more like here and like folding here so I can get a bit more of a stretch that way. And then as soon as I'm warm on the first few, I then implement a pause. And so again, building that explosive power out the stretch, but also emphasizing lengthening the tricep, which is the goal with these. So again, I think it's quite easy to get a bit carried away with wanting to progress the load and ending up kind of sacrificing that position in which we need to make the most out of. So with these, a pause kind of limits you from progressing too much to the point where you ignore that. Something I noticed on filming it from the back, which is always helpful, is that I was just kind of just locking out a bit too much because there's nothing really there. Like the main benefit of this exercise is in the stretch position or the lengthened. So that's your tricep like lengthened there. And then in the middle range, so as we come into like this position here. So like me going here to here, I really just need to come to about here, like a soft elbow, and then back in. It's not like it's an injury risk. Like if I was to go here and then hyperextend like this, perhaps a bit of an injury risk. But what you gotta realize is like this is the whole thing with like stacking joints in a top of a hack squat. Like people get scared about that, but like that's me stacked. So I'm like standing up straight. I'm at no risk, my knee joint here. And when you're at the top of a hack squat, you are standing up and the load bearing activity is through you holding the weight on your shoulders. As soon as you come into this position here and there's torque on the knee joint, so we're now creating an actual moment arm to the knee, that's where you're in a risky position. That's where you're gonna hurt your knees. If you come up and explode, or you come up on a leg press and you like hyperextend, or you have like hypermobility and you've gotta be careful, that's when you see the injury risk occurring, or people just using far too much load and being way too explosive into that lockout position and hyperextending. That's where you see the knee snap stuff that's on gym fail. So standing up straight and actually stacking your joints is not a risk at all as long as it's done with control and the right weight. I go. Yeah. There's a guy with like massive arms at the commercial gym that I trained out of when I first started training, And I kept quizzing him about what he did, and then eventually he said, "Oh, just join me on a session." And I remember that was one of the things that he showed me. We did it with an EZ bar though. EZ bar skull crushers, as many as you can get, and then bring it over, and then just do narrow grip presses until failure. And you do get a bit more out of it because there's only so long you can go. It's actually quite dangerous to take partials in that overhead plane, because unless you've got a spotter, it's pretty risky because you've got to like let go of it. But if you bring it round, bring it into this position, tricep, it's nice. It's worth a shot on the last set, and it's just fun to do these things now and again where you add something in that you haven't done before, you haven't done in a while. Obviously, I don't do it very often, but it's enjoyable, and it's all about this. Like, this is, you know, we do this to have fun, we do this to enjoy sessions, and sometimes that means having a tiny bit of variety amongst the similarity of sessions. All right, guys, that is pretty much a wrap for push. So as always, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. We'll finish off with a couple of sets of push downs after the skull crushers. So yeah, it was a good session there. I really enjoyed it. It was nice to have a little bit of a change, like I said, with the main presses. The back end of the session will always stay pretty similar. Flies, laterals, push downs. So yeah, until next time, enjoy the rest of the content that we're putting out on MBW. Appreciate the support over there. Any comments, questions, queries, drop them below. See you later, guys.